Today.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Shattering Ceilings. It's Lauren
And Megan. And today we are finally talking about human design.
So fucking excited for this.
Oh my God, me too. Lauren's super pumped right now.
I am.
Tell us why.
Okay, we're going to tell you what human design is in a minute. However, I just had a reading done yesterday by someone who can officially read a chart, can really dive into it. Her name's Danielle McCleary. You may have heard of her because she was on our show back in I think September, the end of September. She was our very first guest. And she's an expert in this. And guys, it lit me up in ways that I can't even describe to you, because I truly felt like it was confirmation for me of things that I know about myself, but also things that I know that I need to work on and change. And which we're going to get to this at the end too. Vision for my life right now is just, it's just magnified 100 times after having this with her, because truly being able to use human design in your life, in your work life, relationships, all the things, it can really just I feel harmonize and just align you right with what is really for you and what you really desire. And I'm just so excited for that, to have that. And I feel I don't know, Meg, it's been not even 24 hours. And I'm guess what happened? Right.
Yes.
Because I'm starting to incorporate it and shit is happening. So, it's energy, right? So that's why. But Meg, you are the technical person. Tell us what human design is.
All right, let's see if I can say this.
Okay.
So human design is essentially your energetic blueprint. So it utilizes some ancient modalities and some more modern modalities. So it draws from astrology, the Chinese I Ching, Kabbalah, as well as physics, biochemistry, Myers-Briggs. So it's a beautiful mix of different things that create a chart for you. So they utilize the chakra system and stuff like that to create a chart that helps you to understand how to best utilize your energy, where your natural gifts lie, how what is the most aligned way for you to move through the world, which really just helps to take some obstacles out of the way, if that makes sense.
And to identify things that are triggers to you that you didn't even realize before. And you're oh, is that what that is? Or is that why I feel that way? And yeah, it really just helps. Well, it's helping me, I should say, navigate certain things. And just, it really is helping me be more mindful in decision making, or just anything, what I'm doing, what I'm saying, what I'm putting out into the world. So Meg, go ahead.
Go ahead. So I wanted to say, before we get into just chatting about how it's affected our life, I want to give you guys some basic information about what there is or what it is. So we have our energy types. Everybody has a specific energy type. It is the most common aspect of this. And then there's more and more details. There's different aspects to your human design chart that is what makes it more personalized. But the design types are generators, generators and manifesting generators, which take up about 60% of the total population. So generators are the energy bodies, the batteries, if you will.
Energizer
people that
bunnies.
Yeah, if they get lit up by something, they can go forever. And then you have the manifesting generator is a mix between the generator and the manifester, which is what Lauren is. And that is your innovators, the idea people. They are not an energetic body. So the way that their energy flows is a little bit different. For a generator, every single day you wake up revving and ready to go, and you need to go and utilize your energy, your gifts, until you're exhausted. At the end of the night, if I am not super duper tired, I cannot get into bed. It's something that's been true for me my whole life. As a kid, it turned I would giggle right when I couldn't sleep at night. I would just get this uncontrollable laughter that my aunt called the sleepy ha-has. And it was because I still had energy pent up that I needed to get out. And now as an adult, I recognize
we had to run you basically, right?
Yeah.
As a kid, probably now. I don't know.
Yeah, I have to keep myself busy and do things, not even keep myself busy, just do stuff that I enjoy, right? Until I've exacerbated that energy.
And follow
For a
your joy.
manifester, Yes, following my joy. For a manifestor, that looks a little different. So your energy flows differently. You may be lit up by something and be able to go for a week, and then you need to crash for a week. You need to take a break. And you're not necessarily meant like where a manifestor comes in with the brilliant ideas, the generator takes those ideas and helps carry them out. So Lauren, like we've talked about our relationship on this podcast before, she is so good about initiating and getting the ball rolling, right? And where I come in and help is sustaining that energy to finish the project through the end. And that takes us to our fourth energy type, the projectors. So a projector is somebody who can see things from a different perspective, right? They're able to come in and make those little tweaks that turn something from good to great.
Yes.
And so if you have a projector in your life, they're really great to ask advice. You know, like my daughter, for example, is a projector. And one way that human design has showed up in my life and been really helpful is that everybody's always called her a helper. Oh, she's, you know, she's the mommy, she's the helper, she's going to be a leader, she's going to do all these things. And it's because she wants to give input. She wants to give advice. She wants to know that her opinion matters and is valuable. And so asking her simple questions, even if I don't take her advice, like, hey, Veda, what should we make for dinner tonight? That helps her feel seen and included. So, you know, just to throw that in there, not only does human design help you in like your own personal life, it is also a great way to learn how to like interact with people in your life to help like create the best relationship. That's created a lot more ease in our household to know that like, oh, Veda needs to feel seen. She wants to feel heard and she wants to know that her opinion is important. Where Ender's a generator. He just wants to be involved. He doesn't care. You know, he wants to be moving. Yeah, right. Exactly. Simone's a generator too.
Yeah.
So to bring us back, we've got 4 energy types so far. We've got our generator, our manifesting generator, which let's talk about that a little bit. A man-gen is a mix.
We both have partners that are man-gens and they are, gosh, Meg, like he was getting on my nerves so bad yesterday. I'm like, will you just like zip it? Like they are, go ahead, tell them about them because they are definitely like a unique breed for sure.
Yeah. So they share the gifts of the generator and the manifestor. So not only do they have the ability to come up with these like incredible, innovative ideas. So like to give an example, you know, the invention of the wheel, right? Everybody's walking around carrying stuff. And then the manifestor comes in and they don't say like, oh, let's figure this problem out together. They're like, oh, I have this great idea. It's a wheel. It looks like this. And they want to drop that little gem and take off. They're done with it.
Yeah.
And then the generator is supposed to take that and be like, okay, we need to figure out how to make these wheels. With a manifesting generator, they come in and they're like, yo, I have this great idea. This is how I made it. Here's how you utilize it. Right. And so if you know a manifesting generator in your life, that might show up as somebody that is constantly got their fingers into 75 different projects. So for anyone listening to this that knows Aaron Adams, my partner, he is, I mean, no less than 10 hobbies at the same time. You know, he's learning programming, he's doing this, he's doing like just all over the spectrum. And they may not make sense. Those hobbies may not make sense, but something beautiful about a manifesting generator is that there is a through line that connects all of those different hobbies that's going to help move them forward in whatever they're passionate about.
Yeah. Always thinking, like always thinking about something.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I mean, if you guys ever watch us on YouTube, you see the whiteboard behind me that's constantly covered in notes. That's Aaron's idea dumping at the end of the day so that he can then go work on those projects the next day. Right. And it's how he gets like, he needs to walk around with a notebook all the time because he's constantly just like innovating, coming up with new things. Like it's just overwhelming for me, you know, like Lauren just said, I'm like, just like, oh my gosh, can we get one project done before we start the next 10? So we have generator, manifesting generator, manifestor, which is our, you know, our idea people, the projector who is going to come in and is going to tweak things and make it better. And then we have the reflector. And guys, reflectors are only 1% or less than 1% of the population.
I still don't know one. You met one, right?
I haven't met him yet. I have
but you know of one.
I have a friend whose brother is a reflector.
Yeah. I
so
don't know
like
anyone.
I'm gonna make that connection.
If you guys out there are reflectors, like hit us up. We want to know more about you.
Yeah. And so if you're listening to this and you want to pause for a second, if you go to mybodygraph.com, you can run your chart. The information that you need to know is your birth date, your birth time, and your birthplace. excuse me, the birth time is very important because that is going to change some of like the more personal aspects of your chart. So find that information out and go run your chart. It is completely free. And just like, even if it's just for shits and giggles, like go look it up to see how you feel when you're reading these things about yourself. Because it's not teaching you anything about yourself as much as it is validating what you already know to be true about yourself and helping you to like stand with more like confidence, you know, and how you move through the world. Like, oh, that makes sense why I do that. Oh, of course, this is, you know, blah, blah, blah. So to go back to the reflector is somebody who has a completely open chakra system as far as human design goes. Their chart is completely open, which means that they are taking in external stimuli all the time and reflecting it back into the world. So life looks a little different for a reflector, right? They're more heavily affected by their environment, by the people that they're around, by the jobs that they're doing. And what separates them from everybody else is those chakra centers. So you have defined chakra centers and undefined chakra centers. Laura, do you want to talk a little bit about the difference in defined and undefined?
Yeah. So like your defined are like your energy points, right? Like those are the places where you really are lit up, I guess, in a sense, you know. These are the places where those characteristics really shine and you're not as conditioned, right, from the outside world in these places. Like you're more like, you know what you are in this area. And again, we're not going to go all into this because it gets pretty complex.
We are not experts.
Right. And we are not experts yet. I'm going to say yet. But like from what I learned yesterday, knowing where you're defined and where you're undefined, like that's kind of where this is where it can really help you through life and just really like leaning into certain things, right? So where you're defined and you know that you're strong in those areas, like you use those tools, you use those characteristics really more like in your life and you can really depend on them more. Whereas where you're undefined, that's where you can experience some conditioning. That is where you can experience, for example, like I'm a recovering, I like to say, people pleaser, right? So the undefined areas, like there's certain things that will show up that look like here's how people pleasing will look in this area if you're undefined. Like, for example, you know, the top of the chart is your crown. It's like a triangle on the top of your head. And I'm undefined there. I think me and Meg are both right. We're undefined.
Yeah.
And so that means like if I'm people pleasing, right, I may feel like I have to give everyone all of the answers all the time. And like, I don't. It's not my job, actually, because that center for me is undefined. I'm not supposed to have all the answers or give them. I'm just supposed to have ideas and then like say them. And then I'm not supposed to figure it out or like tell you like how to figure it out. You know what I mean?
Right. And oppositely, I want to throw this in for you, like to stick with the example of Lauren, she has a defined throat. So for Lauren, she doesn't take in conditioning from her throat because that is a solid defined center. And it's really important for her to speak her truth. Right? Like speaking is a very powerful thing for her, where I oppositely have an undefined throat. So that means I take in influence and conditioning from the outside world. So I kind of take in information there and then utilize what I take in externally to then form my, like the way that I speak in the world. Where Lauren, it's like everything comes internally, like from inside of herself. That's how she forms the way that she's going to speak about something. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes,
I feel like
absolutely.
It's weird. Okay.
No, I think that totally makes sense. I know, like that can be, I feel like we can go a million different directions with that. And again, it gets definitely more complex. You can go through gates. Oh my gosh, my computer might be glitching.
You're a little like your voice is fine.
Okay. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Sorry guys.
The picture's just glitching a little.
Okay. So there's gates involved in your centers too. There's that website that Meg just gave you. You'll be able to see all this and you can read it for yourself too. I think that was really helpful, you know, in especially in the beginning. But if you can get a reading, you know, then that's even more incredible because you really get someone that's kind of like analyzing the whole picture and not and like able to share with you like how it works together, but also how it may appear in life. Because I think most of us, since we don't know, like we literally, what did we learn about this? Like last year, Meg, like this time last year?
Yeah.
Right. Most of us don't know how or don't know about it, I should say. And so a lot of times we are conditioned, like Meg was just saying, from outside influences, and we're not truly living how we are designed to live. That's why it's called human design.
Right.
And
And you
so,
hear that all the time in life, right?
mhm,
Like you do things because you feel like it's the right thing. It's that it's how
mhm,
your parents told you, life looks if you're a successful person or whatever. Like
mhm,
this helps you really step into your own power. Like,
mhm.
okay, yes, I've been taught to think this way, but I've always on the back, like deep down inside, always felt this way.
Let's Bob, we're gonna have to cut this. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, wait, maybe he's not. All right, sorry, you can cut that. He's here and he's door's locked. So he
Oh,
might come in.
okay.
We can cut that. But okay, what were you just saying? Shit, sorry.
Oh, talking about taking an outside influence and then
Mhm.
knowing like what, like maybe you felt differently about something,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
So we've told you a little bit about stuff, right?
Mhm.
The basics of human design. So if you're looking at your body graph chart, right, and you see all this information, it's going to look a little overwhelming. There's this beautiful, like visual that comes with it,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
The two most important things for you to understand about yourself, just to get started,
Mhm.
are your energy type, which we already talked about, and
Mhm.
your authority. Now, we're
Mhm.
not going to go into all of the authority types because honestly, I only know about like mine and like those who are in my family. The
Mhm.
two main ones, maybe we'll talk about the two main ones.
About emotional
Yeah, emotional and like gut
gut.
intuition.
Yeah, they're the most
Okay.
popular, right?
Yeah, so if you're
Mhm.
somebody that has gut intuition, like we all get that ping, right? Like if
Mhm.
you are making a decision or a piece of information comes into your like field, if you will, you get that initial reaction, like that bodied reaction. Is this a yes for me or is this a no for me?
Mhm.
If you are somebody that has gut intuition, that first ping is what you go with.
Mhm.
Do not rationalize it. Do not think through it for the next, 48 hours or
Right.
whatever.
Don't
Go
overthink
with your
it.
gut. Yeah, just
Mhm.
go with your gut and trust yourself.
Right. And you
So
all
that's something incredibly important is trusting yourself.
right, and people probably can identify with this kind of easily, like if you are a gut intuition person, because you're that person that says, like, I just knew it. I knew it in
Yeah,
my gut. Like I knew right away. Or if something's off, like I just know. Like you
yeah.
probably have that already
And
in
you've
you.
probably had experiences in life where you did not follow your gut, and then you
Mm-hmm.
look back afterwards, you're like,
Right.
"Man,
Mm-hmm.
I knew that the whole time. Why did I do something different?"
Right.
Right?
And then we have the emotional authority, which you're an
Mhm.
emotional, right? Too. We
Yeah, we
both
both
are.
are.
We're both emotional authorities, which is lots of fun.
Mhm.
Not as much, right? So there
Right.
were a lot of times where I thought I was someone. See, I knew this was going to happen. Give me a minute.
Okay. Got this, guys.
All right, we're back.
Cool.
All right, cut that too. Why does this keep popping up for me? I have like this stupid screen on and I'm trying to just keep it on us. And it's okay. There we go. That's why it's glitching. Okay.
Mhm.
So yeah, emotional authority is it's one of those things where I was acting as a gut intuition person. I was someone who would just make decisions like on the spot.
And
And
we're
like,
talking big decisions, not like what
right.
you're gonna eat for lunch,
No.
you
And
know?
but yeah, like I would make decisions and then later on I'd be like, oh, like not even big, not always big, but like even do I want to like hang out with this person or go do this thing, right? Like something like that.
Right.
And then later on be like, oh, I really don't feel like being here. I really don't feel like going. Like I feel like a
Right,
lot of
you
people can
commit
identify with
to a
that.
dinner, and then when it comes to the
Mhm.
time, like, someone's like, "Hey, you wanna go to dinner Friday?" And immediately you're like, "Yes!" But if you're an emotional authority, like, the whole point is that we go through a larger emotional wave, right?
Mhm.
Or an emotional wave in general,
Mhm.
and, we really need to be making decisions from a neutral place.
Mhm.
So, you sleep on something, right? If someone asks you if you wanna go to dinner on Friday, say, "You know what? Let me think about that, and I'll get back to you. I'll let you know tomorrow." That way
Mhm.
you can ride that entire emotional wave, come back to a neutral point and say like, "Okay, this is what I have going on my week. Do I really want to go do that on Friday? I don't
Mhm.
know."
Right. Right. Yeah. So there are often times where I will call Meg and I'll be like, like yesterday. Like, I am just feeling like I need to do this. And it's like I'm like in my body, like trying to feel like what my body is telling me. Because whether you're a gut intuition or an emotional, like you're still your body is something that you need to check in with. Like you still need to pay attention to that. So my body was like, honestly, a ball of nerves. And Meg said to me, she's like, can you sleep on this though? Like, do you have to make a decision today? Can you sleep on this? Because you're not neutral. Like you're obviously on the down right now. Like you're anxious. So you got to get to that neutral place. And so that's what I did. I slept on it. And so today I'm neutral. Right. So now I'm in a better place to make the decision. So instead of giving people like on the spot answers, you can say something like, hey, Meg, like dinner sounds amazing on Friday. And I would love to go, but let me just like sleep on it and get back to you. Or let me just like check my calendar and get back to you, whatever it may be. You know what I mean? That way, again, like you're not letting anyone down. You're not hurting anyone's feelings, but like that way you can truly check in with yourself, because overall, I think we can all agree that there are a lot of times where we do things like you just said, Meg, because we feel like we're supposed to, or because we know that person wants us to. And like, again, in the moment, you may feel like that tug, like, yeah, that sounds great, but you may not really want to truly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And that shows up in your personal life as well as work. Like I was listening to De Luna, which is one of our favorite human design podcasts. And they were talking about how that could show up in work, where it might be a little difficult at the beginning to not give somebody a decision right away, but people will start to like trust you and count on you differently because they see like, okay, I'm going to ask her this question, right? They're not going to have an answer right away. It becomes an expectation. You're always somebody that says, you know what, let me think about it and I'll get back to you. Or I'll, you know, thanks for, you know, the offer. I'll get back to you in 48 hours. And they know it's going to take you that 48 hours. But when you make that decision, you are committed to that fucking decision. And you're not going to be wishy-washy about something, because then that you get to skip over that whole feeling of like, oh, do I want to do this? And how many times have you committed to something and then maybe backed out of it because it didn't actually make sense for you? So at the last minute, you're not accountable. So moving based on your intuition, right? It can really help ease the way life shows up.
Yeah. And that's one thing that me and Danielle talked about yesterday was like exactly what you just said, Meg. Like when you give people like a boundary, actually, like the boundary is I have to think about this first before I give an answer, right? They do, like they will trust that when you come back with that answer, they, like you said, they know that you're committed to whatever it is. And, you know, like for me, like I'm finally getting that. I'm like, oh, like that makes more sense to me now, right?
I don't have to be the yes man.
Exactly. It's
which is a difficult transition.
It is very difficult, but we're getting there. So let's talk a little bit more. Like we talked about, again, the different energy types. We talked about like two different authorities, and there's more, like Meg said. And again, definitely read your chart. There's profiles, which there's a lot of different profiles. We're not going to get into that. Gosh, just for reference, like I'm a 1-3 manifester, emotional manifester.
I'm a 4-6 emotional generator. Yeah.
So those two numbers will tell you a lot about how you see yourself. That's the first number. And then the second number is how people see you. And that's really cool to know too, because I think that explains not just like your personality in a sense, but again, where you're good. You know, like what you're good at.
Yeah, what people count on you for.
Strengths are. What people count on. Yes, exactly.
You know, so I'll use myself as an example. As a 4-6, the 4 is like the people person, right? So I do really well in community settings. And it's funny, I've had conversations like in my human design reading, they were like, you really should be working in a community setting, like whether, even if it's a small team of 2, like my partnership with Lauren, like that is a community, or in a larger community base, like, you know, doing outreach or something like that. That's a place that I will really thrive. And then the 6th line in my profile is called the wise sage. So that is somebody that like takes an experience and then over time, because there's some other, you know, stuff that goes with being a 6 line, that turns into wisdom. So that means that I can share my experiences in a way that will like, you know, be useful to people, where Lauren is a 1-3. So tell us a little bit about how that shows up.
So the 1-3, the 1 is like the researcher. Guys, if you know me, I can get lost
Queen of rabbit holes.
Queen of rabbit holes. I can get lost going down. It doesn't even have to be anything serious. It could be like, what's the best, like, I don't know, blow dryer that I need to have? Like, so like when I'm making a buying decision, guys, like you best believe, like if you need to buy something, you need a good place to go restaurant wise or like vacate. Like I'm your girl because I have researched it and I know a lot about this. So, again, that knowing that though, I now know that I have to be careful because that like quench for information, or that thirst, I should say, for information is never going to be ending, right? There's no ending to that. So I have to remind myself, like, I know enough to move forward in my decision, and I have to trust that, right? So that's like what that looks like. The 3 is the experimenter, which is also funny because, again, I'm the kind of person where a lot of people will say to me, wow, like you have a lot going on. You have a lot going on. And I'm like, yeah, I do. Like I have a lot going on. And that's kind of like how it's always been. And I like thrive in that because I can't go by your word. If you're like, oh, I've been there, it was all right. Like, I don't know if you should go or whatever, whether we're talking vacations, restaurants, whatever, just any experience, right? I'm like, no, I still have to check it out. Like, I need to know. I need to know. Right. Which is why I like travel and I love like new people and new things. Like I just need to the one
thrive in new experiences.
Right. I need to experience it, but I also want to know all about it. It's like the one thing, right? So yeah, I may look like a little all over, but like it all makes sense in my head. Right. So people will come to me to know, like, again, what, like if they need help with something, like whether it's an experience or information, like I'm the person I guess you go to for that.
Yeah. And like, I am not that person. I usually am doing research last minute because I'm like, oh my God, I need to do this today. Let me figure out what, we show up differently in the world. Right. I don't have that inclination to research everything. Absolutely. It works. And like, I swear you guys, when you start learning, like I ran my chart, then I ran Aaron's chart, then I ran my kids' charts, and then I started expanding into my friends. And as you read through it, you're like, oh my gosh.
It makes sense, right?
So
like it just clicks for you.
Right. Yeah. And it helps you show up and support your friends differently. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It takes some of the expectations off, right? Like things that
where people are like have natural gifts versus what is not, I'm not going to ask somebody who is a, 4-6 like myself. I'm not going to ask them about, I need to know everything about this one thing. Right. But I do know that my 1-3s who thrive in that, if I really need like a solution to something, a 5-1 is a really great person to go to for like solutions because they have the researcher, and then the 5, we're not going to get into that. But like, if I need a solution, I go to my friend Amanda. Because she's a 5-1. That's what she's good at. And then that helps those people to feel like they add value. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Because now
like everyone has a purpose.
We're meeting people where they thrive.
Yes. And like, that's a thing to remember, like in everything from parenting to, again, relationships, whether it's your spouse, your friends, your coworkers, like everyone is made differently. And we know that as a general idea, but when you actually get into human design and you really start to see, it all like starts to click. And like, at the end of the day, we're all made to work together. Right. That's why we all have different gifts and strengths and things like that. And so we're all meant to work together. So, our plan is to have an expert on sometime in the future, probably obviously 2023, because we're coming to the end of 2022. And that can really dive a little bit more into this. But again, check it out for yourself and start to learn more. But here's what I really, think that this could do for you too. Like, for me, like I was saying, I learned more about it. Meg, she had her reading, I think it was August you had your reading.
Yeah,
right?
It's been a few months.
It's been a few months, and then I just had mine. And it gets exciting because you start to see how you can lean into certain things and then how you can like shed other things, which I think is perfect for where we're at right now. Like we're coming to the end of this year. We are going to be reflecting upon 2022 and also like dreaming for 2023, or at least I hope that you're going to be dreaming for 2023. Right. And something that I like it's been tugging at me is the word vision. It's in what I'm reading. It's popping up all over. We talked a lot about it yesterday. And, me and Meg have talked about this quite often too. And the one thing that I feel like we're lacking, and I'm talking about myself and I'm talking about maybe other people can relate. Meg, you can probably relate to this, is that over the past few years, vision is something I think we lacked in a lot of ways, just for whatever reason, because it was going on in the world, your own life circumstances, whatever it may be. And when you start to lose vision and you're not speaking it often for your life, you know what I mean? I just feel like life's circumstances start to get in the way of where you want to go or what you had planned for yourself. Right. And so, this, I feel like really reignited that for me. And I would love to like share that with, all of you guys. I know Megan's on board too. Is like, we want to do something where collectively as a group, we can really start to encourage each other to really start thinking about that again. Right, Meg?
Yeah. Bring it into like your consciousness again. Because I think we've talked about this before. What you track grows, right? Where your intention and thought goes, your energy goes. So bringing that vision to the forefront to help us get back into a place where we're just not a cog in a machine anymore, going through the motions of the day. You are moving through life with intentionality to take you where you want to go.
Right. So something cool we're going to do. Okay. We're going to start this. We're setting this up now for start of January 1st, 2023. We are going to start a 30-day vision accountability group.
Yes.
Like one of the ways to grow your vision and to attract what you want into your life is to literally speak it into existence. Right. So we have to get better and comfortable, because I think sometimes we're afraid to say what we truly want for ourselves, because fear of either what people are going to think, fear of, oh my gosh, if I say it, like, is it going to happen or will it not happen? Or do I have to,
what if I say it and then I fail,
Yeah. All those things. Right. And so we have to get comfortable though, like sharing it, not just with ourselves, but with other people. Right. And that way, again, we can pull in those desires into our life. And really also it gives you accountability to start doing things to make it happen as well. Because we know that you can't just speak things literally into existence. You also have to take action on them too. Right. Absolutely. So it's kind of like putting the rubber to the road. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up a Voxer chat. So a Voxer chat, it's kind of like, guys, if you remember Nextels, it's kind of like a Nextel, the walkie-talkie. It literally makes that chirp noise. I love it. You don't have to you can edit the modifications or whatever so that it doesn't go off all the time. Like, cause ours don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. You can speak into it or type into it. So if you're somebody that doesn't want to speak into it and you're like, oh, I don't know if that's for me, you can also type it like a text message, but it's like it's a group, right? Like a group message situation where people can speak into.
Yeah. And I would encourage speaking it, right? And getting like comfortable with that. And like, again, like Meg said, maybe in the beginning you just start typing it out, but then maybe you get encouraged from everyone else. And like, again, this is going to be a group where there's no judgment here. It's truly just like us speaking our vision for our lives and encouraging each other to do the same. And I think it'll be a lot of fun, especially going into 2023, right? There's so much hope at the start of a new year. And we're going to do more episodes, geared towards, reflection of this year and going into the new year. But we wanted to get this out there, especially right now, because, as a manifester, like the iron is hot right now. You know what I mean? Like I have to say this right now, but truly, yeah, like to start reflecting now about what you want. Like it doesn't have to start on January 1st. Like you can start reflecting now, right?
Absolutely. We're just going to be doing it in a more formal way starting in January.
Right.
And so the beauty of this group, guys, if you're like hearing this and you're like, I don't know if that's for me. We talk about building a community. This is an excellent way to start building a community, because whoever is involved in this group is going to be like-minded in that they hold a big vision for their life, right? Yes. They're going somewhere. And this will give you access to people who you may not otherwise be able to have access to. Maybe they live in a different place, whatever. whatever, so that you can meet people, you
Mhm.
can feel what it is to have that depth of connection through a like-minded community.
Mhm.
And it helps you to build confidence in your own vision, speaking your vision into the world.
I
So we
love
really
that.
invite you to come and be a part of this. Even if
Mhm.
it's something that seems terrifying, you can start it and you don't have like there
Right.
is no contract,
Stipulations
no
or nothing.
commitment, no,
Mhm.
right. It's free. You show up if you want to show up. You don't
Mhm.
show up if it's not for you. But I
Mhm.
encourage you to try it.
Yes, absolutely. So with that, guys, we're gonna wrap this up. And I'm excited for you all to dive into your human design. Please reach out to me and Meg on Instagram.
Yes.
That's where you can find us at our Shattering Ceilings pod. And then we have our personal Instagrams too. Like, feel free to shoot us a message. I love learning about everyone's type. And if you have questions too about it, like where to go, what podcasts to listen to about human design, or who are some
Mhm.
readers that we absolutely love, let us know and we can definitely point you in the right direction. So
Yep.
thanks for listening.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, where did my record? Here it goes.